Hey everyone. So, if you've ever felt like you're drowning in a sea of browser drivers and versions just to run your Selenium tests, you are in the right place. Today, we're going to take a standard JavaScript test, get it off our local machines, and just unleash it on a massive cloud grid. Let's get into it.
So here's our roadmap. First, we'll talk about why local testing can be such a headache. Then we'll see how the cloud is the perfect solution. After that, we'll get our access pass to the cloud, jump into the actual code, and finally see the really big payoff at the end. All right, let's kick things off with a problem that I'm pretty sure we've all felt: the local testing headache. You know, that point where your own computer becomes the biggest bottleneck to actually getting your work done. Does this feel a little too real? You need to test on the latest Chrome, then an older Firefox, then maybe a specific version of Edge, and before you know it, your machine is just this tangled mess of drivers, and keeping everything updated honestly feels like a full-time job. And this right here, this is the core of it. On a local grid, you're stuck with constant maintenance, you can only test on the few browsers you have installed, and scaling up, that's a nightmare. But a cloud grid just flips that entire script. We're talking zero maintenance, thousands of browser and OS combos, and it scales instantly. It's a total game changer. So if local testing is the problem, well, what's the solution? Let's take a look at how moving to the cloud just so elegantly solves every single one of those issues we just talked about. To put it really simply, a cloud Selenium grid is basically a service that does all the heavy lifting for you. It's an entire testing infrastructure on demand where you can run your tests on practically any environment you can dream of. And the best part is you don't have to install a single thing. And this is the real why behind it all. Yeah, you get huge test coverage and you can forget about maintenance. But the biggest win? The ability to run dozens, even hundreds of tests in parallel instead of one by one. And on top of all that, you get detailed videos and logs for every single run. Okay, that sounds pretty powerful, right? So how do we actually connect our code to this thing? Well, the good news is it's way simpler than you might think. It all starts with getting your cloud access pass. It really just boils down to two simple steps. First, we need our keys to the kingdom, our username and access key. And second, we need to tell the grid what kind of machine we want to test on. You know, like say, I need Chrome on Windows 10. The first part is super easy. You just sign up on a cloud grid platform like Lambda Test, you pop over to your profile page, and bam, there they are, your unique username and access token. Just copy those, we're gonna need them in a minute. Now for the second part, you don't even have to write this configuration from scratch. There are these amazing tools like the Lambda Test Capability Generator that let you just click through a few menus, pick your OS, your browser, the version, and it spits out the exact code snippet you need. We just copy and paste. It's that simple. All right, let's get to the fun part, the code. And I think you're going to be surprised by how few changes we actually need to make to point our existing tests to the cloud. So here's our little coding journey. We're going to move our config into its own file, import it, build the special URL for the remote grid, and then, this is the cool part, we're going to refactor our tests using before each and after each hooks to make them way more efficient. So first things first, let's tackle a really common problem. You've seen this, right? Where the code to start the browser and then close the browser is repeated inside every single test block. It's not very dry, don't repeat yourself, and we can definitely fix that. And the fix is just so clean. We use Mocha's before each and after each hooks to pull all that repetitive code out. Now, the setup runs once before each test, and the teardown runs once after. Just like that, our code is instantly cleaner and so much easier to maintain. Okay, now this is the most important change right here. Inside our before each hook, instead of building a local driver, we're now telling the builder to use the remote cloud server with that special grid URL we built. And then we pass in those capabilities we generated earlier. This is the exact line of code that points our test from our machine to the cloud. And then in our after each block, it's just one little line, driver quit. This makes sure that after every single test, the session on the cloud platform is closed down properly, which frees up all the resources. Nice and tidy.
Okay, quick pro tip for you. And trust me, this one makes a huge difference. By default, all your tests might show up with the same generic name on your dashboard. We can easily fix that so our reports are way clearer. All you do is add this one line to the before each hook. It just grabs the title from your it block, you know, that description you write for your test, and uses that to name the test run on the dashboard.
It's so simple, but incredibly useful for finding what you're looking for later.
All right, our code is refactored, it's clean, and it's pointing to the cloud. Now for the moment of truth. What actually happens when we run this thing? Let's check out the payoff.
So you go to your terminal, you type npm test, you hit enter, and for a second, you might think it's broken because nothing happens. No browser window pops up on your screen like it always used to. Your terminal says the test's passed, but you didn't see a thing. This is that magic moment. If it didn't run here, where did it all happen? It all happened right here, on the cloud dashboard. This is your command center. You get a full video recording of every single test, step-by-step command logs showing every action the browser took. Detailed analytics, basically a whole universe of information you just can't get when you're running locally. And there you have it. With just a few small changes to your code, you've completely unlocked the power of parallel testing and massive cross-browser coverage. So I guess the only question left is, with all this new power at your fingertips, what are you going to test first?